carefully followed by the China deal. This is the exciting part though. There is a noticeable softening of the trade war. That's a significant victory, particularly for stocks that are already benefiting. We saw more than $2 trillion, 0 cents at the same moment. In response to this news announcement, it is being introduced to the US market. On a Sunday, it fell. And by Monday morning, the market had risen by $2 trillion, 0 cents. Amazing. The major question now is, what will happen to stocks and cryptocurrency next? For my part, I concentrate on the liquidity cycle. It functions similarly to a covert map for forecasting market moves. Every significant bull run in history coincides with this cycle. Remember 2021? The market did exactly that when the cycle peaked. Although we have more area to cover, we are now still climbing and may reach that summit this year. As 2022 draws nearer, we might observe a market peak by 2026 that would resemble trends from 2021. My primary goal is to reach a peak point somewhere in the fall or early part of 2026. This is the exciting part though. The level of liquidity keeps becoming better. The M2 money supply is the primary driver. You are already aware of how important this is to Bitcoin's upward momentum if you have been following Raoul Paul's observations. If not, you may be lacking a crucial component. The worldwide M2 supply is soaring and Bitcoin is being greatly impacted. China is in the forefront, driving this liquidity tsunami faster than anyone else. The M2 supply is expected to soar as the US increases its money printing. The intriguing part, though, comes when we contrast the worldwide M2. Given a 12-week lead time, we anticipate that Bitcoin will quickly catch up. This prediction was spot on by GMI's Raoul Pal and Julian. They identified the Bitcoin bottoming zone, which coincided exactly with the bottom of the M2 supply. And here's the thing, the timing was perfect when you adhere to the 12-week lead. After plunging to its lowest point, Bitcoin has risen above $100,000, 0 cents. A closer study suggests that there may be a short-term sell-off initially, but the following significant increase might propel Bitcoin above 110,000 from the targets then increased by $140,000, 0 cents, and even $160,000, 0 cents. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? XRP holders would undoubtedly be pleased by that kind of momentum as well, particularly since an alt season appears imminent given Bitcoin's uncertain dominance. What if I told you, however, that $160,000, 0 cents is only the start and that Bitcoin might rise considerably further? That's precisely what Tom Lee is forecasting. Lee demonstrates in two pivotal segments that Bitcoin is ready to compete with gold now that the deleveraging phase is complete. When he initially brought this up in late April, early May, you know what happened? He was absolutely correct. Gold began to dull and lose its luster. Suddenly, there was a significant shift towards Bitcoin. But pay attention to this. On this point, I completely concur with Tom Lee. We seem to have reached a significant tipping point earlier this year. From late February to mid-April, there was an unprecedented level of terror. The trade battle dominated headlines and the prognosis for the market was bleak. It seems as though we are gazing at a totally different planet in the present. Hold on to Tom Lee's prediction about Bitcoin. He thinks that this year Bitcoin might reach $250,000, 0 cents. Furthermore, his prediction doesn't seem all that unrealistic given that banks are about to FOMO into cryptocurrency. To be honest, we're probably not even as hopeful as we ought to be. There is actual momentum. You don't trust me? Check it out for yourself. I must admit that Tom and I have somewhat different viewpoints on Bitcoin. Wouldn't totally rule out the possibility that Bitcoin might approach close to $200,000, 0 cents, even though I can't support his audacious $250,000, 0 cents goal. Why? We're witnessing unprecedented demand from institutions, particularly in light of the excitement around ETF volumes. Even more noteworthy is the fact that the market appears to be reviving at the same moment that the Fed is getting closer to making a rate cut decision. As I write this, the price of Bitcoin is around $102,000, 0 cents. If, as Tom predicts, it dips to close that deficit at about $98,000, 0 cents, before jumping to $250,000, 0 cents, that would be a huge 155% rise. Not to be overlooked is XRP. On the pricing chart, it is now about $2.50, but after refreshing my screen, it has significantly dropped to $2.45. Right now, we're at about $2.44. But consider this. If XRP jumps 300% from its current position, its price would be about $9.96. And given that XRP has continuously outperformed Bitcoin in terms of gains, that isn't just wishful thinking. Let's dissect it. XRP has gained over 8 times as much as Bitcoin in the last year. Therefore, an 8x difference indicates a staggering 1,244% gain that may propel XRP to an astounding $33.00 or possibly near $34.00 if this trend holds and the cryptocurrency maintains its fantastic run. Is it crazy? In my opinion, I think so, but do I think Bitcoin will reach $250,000.00? The true question is that, to be honest, I don't believe it's possible. In my opinion, $200,000.00 might be achievable. To begin with, that would be a fantastic milestone. Of course, we're discussing a very different situation with regard to XRP. I still think XRP might rise to $20.00 or even $30.00, even if Bitcoin reaches $200,000.00. This is where things become fascinating, though. It's game on if Tom Lee's correct and Bitcoin reaches $250,000.00. XRP and the altcoin market as a whole may gain greater traction if Bitcoin rises further during alt season, particularly as its dominance begins to decline. Big things might be coming for XRP, particularly if Bitcoin sees a big upswing. Imagine a 105% surge by any standard, a remarkable leap, but let's have a bigger dream. We are talking about an 84% gain if XRP manages to pull off an 8x rise. You read correctly, 840% dollar. A jump like that might send XRP to the $20.00, $23.00 range, a level that might make a lot of holders overnight celebrities. At current levels, even a tiny holding of XRP might yield enormous gains, revolutionizing your portfolio. This has incredibly intriguing potential for return on investment. All eyes are on Bitcoin at the moment. To what extent will it rise? The market as a whole may be impacted by its next action. Every cycle opens up new possibilities and predictions are flying in all directions. The majority of these forecasts turn out to be incorrect. However, even though $200,000.00 to $250,000.00 could be a bit of a push, I believe a target of $160,000 to $180,000.00 feels realistic. Later, we'll go over this again and see how it turns out. There is no doubt that XRP gains momentum in proportion to the rise in Bitcoin. It will be fascinating to see how this plays out. Remember to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for more free stuff if you like the video.